Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Wyrock. And in today's episode, we're talking about AI and crime. And we're asking the question, are humans really replaceable? This comes from a fascinating story that I read in the New York Times about a Spanish artificial intelligence program called VioGén. It's an algorithm that helps police and judges to determine the likelihood of a domestic abuse victimizer offending again. In other words, if a husband is violent with his wife, what's the likelihood that he will be violent a second time? The algorithm works when police input into the system about 35 different things, different criterias, different data points that will help the algorithm to form a depiction of whether the woman's at low risk, moderate risk, high risk, or severe risk for being a victim of domestic abuse again in the future. And it has been wildly successful. I mean, it is the leading program in this area, one of the leading law enforcement uses of artificial intelligence. In fact, let me give you an example. In Spain now, only 15% of domestic violence murders, so instances where a husband murders his wife, only 15% of those instances are repeat offenders, which is amazing because typically you don't start with murder, you escalate to murder, but not in Spain. That's because VioGén has helped law enforcement to determine which men are at greater risk of harming their wives and actually led to them increasing patrols in the areas, the frequency of check-ins and check-ups, and even the criminal penalty that is assigned to those husbands. And so judges are getting the VioGén information and then levying their punishments based on, in part, the data that it's generating. It's a really interesting use of artificial intelligence, which can quickly analyze tons of data and make a data-driven, informed decision about potentially the future. It's a little bit like that Tom Cruise movie, Minority Report. It can predict crime before it happens. But the thing is, it's so successful that Spain has really started to rely on it almost entirely, whether at the judge level or the police resource level. So when a woman is flagged at low risk, for example, she receives much less police attention than someone who's flagged at high risk, even though that flagging is just based on the intuition of an algorithm. So some people have begun poking as to whether or not this will lead to blind spots in Spain's treatment of domestic abuse. And there are indications that it just might. In fact, one study looked at 98 women who had been murdered by their partner over a period of time in Spain and found that 55 of the women in that study had actually been flagged as low risk by VioGén. So even though the program said they weren't at risk, they eventually, unfortunately, tragically were murdered. That means 55 times the police and the legal system in Spain were making decisions based on what they did not know, but ultimately proved to be faulty intelligence. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Humans are complex. Feeding information into an algorithm presupposes that the information you're getting from, say, a woman who's a victim of domestic violence is accurate. It doesn't factor in whether she's too afraid to tell the truth, too embarrassed to tell the truth. It doesn't factor in whether she grew up in a home that normalized violence. Those kinds of things ultimately really can't be determined by an algorithm. They can really only be picked up on by human intuition, which is why many of the people looking into VioGén are not saying that it's broken, but that it is a program in need of human intuition, that we still need detectives, for example, who can read the room. We still need judges who can operate from a large experience base to make informed decisions about the right punishment for offenders of domestic abuse. In other words, not technology instead of humans, and not humans without technology, but technology and humans. This is important for us to remember because ultimately, if technology replaces humans entirely in any given field, we are losing something. That's because AI, as fascinating as it is, not made in the image of God. It doesn't have intuition and instincts. Those things are innately what it means to be human. And so we have to make sure that even as technology rapidly advances, and there's no stopping it, and it will lead to so many good things, that we are continuing to value humans and the unique contributions they can make to any field, including law enforcement and the judicial system. Read about VioGén for yourself. It's absolutely fascinating. But in that, be reminded that we still need each other. And I'm grateful for what you bring to the table. And I know that no algorithm could replace it. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Wake Up Lookup. While you're here, make sure you click like and subscribe so you get future content from Wake Up Lookup. And hey, leave a comment below letting us know what you thought or interacting in some way with what you just watched. I'd love a chance to talk with you more in the comment section. And also, while you're here, check out all the other content CCC puts out, including the videos that are around me right now.